Welcome back to Maths with Mrs. J. We've been talking about probability, and we've been talking about how we calculate a probability. In our previous video, we did one example where we were talking about the probability of when you roll a die, getting a number greater than 4. And we said that we needed to look at the number of outcomes in that event. So if that event, getting greater than 4, would have had a 5 or a 6 in it, they would qualify. So the number in there is 2. So it's the number in that event, which is 2, divided by the number of possible outcomes in our sample space. So our sample space, when we're rolling a die, is everything that could possibly happen. So it's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. So the number in the sample space is, of course, 6. So our probability came out to be a third. Let's have a look now at a really cool way of representing our sets. Venn diagrams are very, very useful at representing our sets. This is a Venn diagram. It can be more complicated than this, or it can be even simpler than this. In this particular case, we have a universal set, which is everybody or everything that we're talking about, like our sample space. And in this case, we're talking about two different sets, A and B. They might be two types of sport that you play, or they might be two types of musical instrument that you learn. They could be two types of desserts that people like, or something like that. Now, what's going to go here would be the people or things that don't qualify as either. What's going to go in here, this A intersection B, we call that an intersection. This overlap is the both. So that's the people that count as both. So that play both sports or learn both musical instruments or like both desserts, that sort of thing. What does this mean? Well, A union B means one or the other or both. So it means either they play A or they play B or they play both. Now, the reason why we have this here is that you'll notice this intersection part here. Imagine this was learning, I don't know, the piano and learning violin. And if you just counted up all the people who played the piano and added them to all the people who played the violin, you would have counted these people twice. So you have to actually get rid of one lot of those people, otherwise you've counted them twice. Now we can use that to work out our overlap, and that's what I'm going to do in this question here. I've already drawn a Venn diagram to sort of get us ready, just to sort of speed things up a bit. Let's go to the question and we'll see how we go. So we've got a typical question that is about students at school. Okay, so year 10 students. So we're talking about playing basketball, football, or both, or perhaps even neither. There are 90 students. So total students we know is 90. Okay, so we know that basketball, we know there are 55 that play basketball. We know that football, there are 60. We know that neither, there are 10. Let's label our Venn diagram. We'll call this basketball B and football F. Makes sense. Where are we going to put these neither? Well, they're not going to be in either of those circles. So somewhere in the box, but outside the circles will be our neither. Now, because 10 do neither, how many must do one or the other of these? Well, 90 minus 10 is 80, isn't it? So our 80 will be our number that do one or other or both. But how are we going to work out the intersection? Well, if we add up 55 plus 60, that gives us 115, doesn't it? We know we've only got 80 students in amongst here. So to work out the overlap, we just take 80 away from that, and that gives us 35. So there must have been 35 students in that overlap area, because otherwise we would be adding up to too many students. How do we work this bit and this bit out? Well, basketball total we know is 55. 35 of those have already been accounted for in the intersection. So what is going to go here will be our 55 minus our 35, which is 20. What's going to go here? Well, total for football was 60. 35 have already been accounted for here. So we're going to do 60 minus 35, which is 25 here. You normally wouldn't put that little bit of work in here, you just put the numbers. And just to double check, 20 plus 35 plus 25 plus 10 does equal 90, so we're all good. So we've done our first step, we've done our Venn diagram. How many students play both? Well, we just actually worked that out there. In order to get our Venn diagram done, we had to actually do that calculation. So what we did was we did the number who did basketball plus the number who did football minus the number who do basketball or football, and that worked out the intersection for us. This union means or, this means and. So this means one or the other or both, this means both. Okay, now if you pick a student at random, what's the probability that that student will play football? Okay, probability of football will be the number that play football over the total number of students. Okay, well, how many play football? There are 60 who play football. There are 90 students in total, so that's 2/3. What's the probability that a student chosen at random will play neither? Well, probability neither will be the number that do neither, which is 10, over the number of students, which is 90, so it's 1/9.